4Ps, episode 85. The Mets are winning, and everything is good in the world. Well, not really, but at least in Queens, for now. Just a quick programming note that we will be taking a few weeks off for a summer hiatus, if you will, but I am not really on vacation. With a big office move coming up, lots of current and new business projects, and a relaunch and new identity for our brand coming soon. Things have never been busier. But for the 4Ps, a few weeks off. Guns, am I right? Owning them is a fundamental civil right. As someone said on Fox News yesterday, it's actually a human right. That's right. My right to own a gun, an assault rifle that can shoot hundreds of rounds per minute, is more important than your right to live, your right to shop, your right to worship, to listen to music, to eat at a restaurant, to watch a movie, to go to school. Why would we need background checks or waiting periods? That just slows things down. And even though there are more guns in America than there are people, it's a human right. You see how absurd that sounds? El Paso and Dayton were the 249th and 250th mass shooting in the first 7 months of 2019. This doesn't happen anywhere else because other countries have more practical, common sense gun background checks and restrictions. And you know what's impractical? Semi-automatic weapons, which are created for one purpose, to kill people, not meant for hunting. So while the NRA continues to pay Mitch McConnell to prevent gun legislation from even being voted on, more people are going to die, more prayers and thoughts will be offered, and the sick, tragic cycle will just repeat itself. I mentioned in the opening that some change is coming. Yes, we are going to be announcing the rebrand, a new identity and name of our company here in the U.S. in the coming weeks. It is a project that is super important, one that we've been working on for a while, but it also coincides with our move into a new office. And we'll talk more about both in subsequent episodes, but we have outgrown the WeWork. But for someone who has never managed an office move before, totally blank canvas, the process is challenging. Planning a space for comfort, for functionality, for practicality, but also with cost in mind, but also growth. So many details, which is why I was excited to discover and now work with a company called Managed by Q, which is basically an office services support partner for moving and getting settled, and then ongoing office management, things that I didn't even think about needing until they told me that I probably should be thinking about it, and then made sense. I wasn't the first to discover them. They were actually acquired by WeWork earlier this year. But it is a great service for those moving out of co-working spaces that not everyone might be familiar with. Even for bigger companies, Managed by Q offers something of value, and I can't wait to show all of you our new space in the weeks to come, thanks to the hard work of many. With all that happened in the last few days in Dayton and El Paso, last week's Democratic debates feel like they were a month ago, right? It was really an interesting showcase, though, with Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders taking on basically everybody else on Tuesday. The differences between the moderates and the progressives was actually more clear than I've seen it physically presented. And I can only hope that ultimately, when there is a candidate, that there is party unity this time next year. The other debate on Wednesday night was nastier, with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Cory Booker kind of ramping up attacks on each other. Personally, this split debate format didn't work because I kind of want to see how everyone compares to each other, but there's too many candidates. And it's important that these arguments happen with the biggest contrast in the debate around how to improve our current healthcare plans. The Medicare for All candidates talked about cost efficiencies, access, the value of removing the decision making from employers and how it's better than a private model. Those advocating for the public option sounded sometimes like they were using some Republican talking points and certainly a bit more moderate. But it is important to understand here that no Democratic plan is talking about taking health care away. That is a GOP talking point that is just not accurate. No one is losing anything. This debate is really just around cost. So here's my pledge. As an employer responsible for paying employee coverage, if I no longer have to pay employee insurance costs, and that's no longer on my budget, I am pledging that we will put those costs into employee salary and comp. Straight up. Net, even. Elizabeth Warren really impressed me at the debates. I like her. I like Kamala Harris. I like them both over Joe Biden at this point as a candidate. But can we just fast forward to January already? And now, something personal. At some point today, my oldest child is going to be, or maybe already has, depending on when you watch this, taking his deep water swim test at camp. Now, for a kid who is just naturally a bit slower to try new things, but is actually really good at just about everything, this may not seem like a big deal, but for him, it is. And I understand why. I was actually the same way. I knew I could swim. I was a good swimmer long before I ever had the courage to actually take the swim test. I don't even really know why in retrospect all these years later, because I've never really held back in other areas. But Jake is the same way, not because he can't do it, but because he's not sure that he can. And I think maybe in his case, he just doesn't want to fail and has psyched himself out of it for the last few weeks. But today he's ready. And honestly, I am proud of him whether he passes today or not, because he will get there. And the fact that he is trying in spite of his anxiety it's what life is all about. And on that note, have a great few weeks. Enjoy the rest of the summer. Be good. Wear sunscreen. And don't get shot.